Welcome to Module 4. This is a module on the Greek prepositional phrase. And we'll be looking at the example dia to euangeliou to help us understand how a prepositional phrase works. So dia to euangeliou means in English through or by the gospel. Well, hopefully that you already recognize that to euangeliou is the gospel, and dia, which is a new vocabulary word, this is your preposition. So the way prepositional works is you have a preposition and it combines with a noun or pronoun with a particular case ending. That means dia won't take, for example, a dative case ending, but it wants, in this example here, through or by the gospel, to take a genitive case ending. And so dia plus a noun and a genitive means through or by plus whatever the noun means. So a prepositional phrase is formed by taking the preposition and combining with a noun or pronoun with the right case ending. So depending on the preposition, it will want or look for a particular case. So let's look at a couple prepositions. So the first preposition we have is a pa, and a pa always takes a genitive. So some of these prepositions take only one type of noun with the case ending. In other prepositions, you have some options. And so a pa happens to be a preposition that only takes one kind of noun case ending, and that's the genitive. And so you attach a pa to a noun with the genitive, and it means away from or from. Dia, the second preposition, actually can take either a genitive as its object or the accusative, but it's going to mean different things. If dia is attached to a genitive noun, then it means through or by. But if it's attached to accusative noun or pronoun, then it's going to mean something different. It's going to mean on account of, or because of. So dia to euangeliou, the example we just gave on the previous slide, means through or by the gospel. But if I had put the gospel in the accusative case, if I had written dia ton, ta. So it's a neuter noun, so it's a ta. Euangelion. So if I had an accusative noun, accusative article, it would not mean through or by the gospel. It would mean on account of the gospel or because of the gospel. The second preposition we have is ek, and this is one that always takes the genitive, and it means from or out of. Meta is a preposition that takes an object in two cases. When it's attached to an object in the genitive case, then it means with. And if it's attached to an object in the accusative case, it means after. Para is a preposition that actually can take three different case endings, and each case ending means something different. So if you have something in the genitive, it means from. If you have para plus a object preposition in the accusative, it means alongside of. It means it's like it's next to you. And if you have something that's in the dative is para plus a dative noun. It can mean in the presence of, and that's actually a very special preposition. If you say para to theo, para plus God in the dative, it means in the presence of God. So in the presence of, But sometimes it doesn't mean the in parentheses enough. It can simply mean beside. So para is one of those prepositions that have three different objects in different cases, and each case renders itself to a different translation in English. The next preposition is pros, and it only takes the accusative. And it means to or toward. So if I were to say something like pros oikon, which is a vocabulary word that means house, let's add an article there. Pros ton oikon means toward the house or to the house. Hupa is a preposition that takes objects of the preposition two different cases. If it's in the genitive, it means by. So the ball was thrown by me, for example. And if it's in the accusative, it means under. Ace in the accusative, with accusative, means in, into, or even among. So in, into, or among. And, which always takes the dative, is in or within. After. Now notice that the prepositions can also be spelled three different ways. There is the regular form, and that's what we just went over. We have a pa, dia, ek, meta, para, pros, hupa, ace, and en. And these are usually the forms that you see, especially if the word that follows it, if the word that immediately follows after the preposition begins with a consonant. But a lot of these prepositions have short vowels on the end of it. And when you have a short vowel and the word that follows immediately follows is another vowel, then a lot of times the preposition takes on a different form. Sometimes the preposition drops the vowel because in Greek, saying two short vowels or a short vowel and another vowel together, it's very difficult to say. So it's kind of a process of elision. Remember, when things drop out, we call it an elision. This is something that we went over in Mounds chapter 4. When letters drop out, Greek always signals that something has dropped out with what we call an apostrophe. So with words that begin with a smooth breathing mark, and I'm going to use, for example, angelos, which is the vocabulary word that you've learned that means angel or messenger. So if I want to say away from an angel, I would say op. You have there should be a smooth breathing mark here. It'd be op. Blue, and that's away from an angel. And you notice that omicron drops. So whenever you have the word that immediately follows a preposition and it begins with a smooth breathing mark, the short vowel drops. So the short forms for prepositions where immediately following is a noun or pronoun with a smooth breathing mark. So this is for the smooth breathing mark. It's op, d, x, that is a kasi, met, par, pros, hoop, ace, en. Notice that nothing drops here because these prepositions don't end in a short vowel. And then this one's a little bit unusual. It ends with a key, but turning into kasi makes it a little bit easier to say when the word follows it begins with a vowel. There's also one more rule where what happens if the word that follows doesn't begin with a smooth breathing mark, but a rough breathing mark. So this is a rough breathing mark. So the example I would use is hamartia, which means sin. And here you have a rough breathing mark. So if I were to write the genitive form, it would be hamartias with a sigma. And notice that there's an extra step. Not only do all the short vowels, you see with this apostrophe here shows that a vowel has been dropped. Not only do the short vowels drop, but notice the form. If there is an aspirate form of the letter, it'll take that rough breathing mark sound and what we call is add an H sound to the letter. So if you have op with a P, it softens it in front of a rough breathing mark and it's off. So you would say off hamartias, away from sin, which is a very biblical concept. You want to walk away from sin. If you use D hamartias, that's for this preposition, the iota can't aspirate, it can't can't add the H sound to it, so it remains the same. And so in front of words with a rough breathing mark, the forms of the preposition are off, D, X, meth. Notice that the tau becomes a theta, it took the H sound. Par, pros, hoof. Notice the P took on the H sound from the following down that uses a rough breathing mark, and it's going to be hoof hamartias or bison. And then we have ace and n. And lastly, we'll be learning a full verb paradigm in the present tense for the verb eİmī. I'll write a smooth breathing mark here. And the verb eİmī, literally means I am. It's what we call the first person form. And this is a grammatical tag that we use even in English and other languages, that anything in first person is I, anything in second person is you, anything in third person is he, she, it. And then those are the singular forms. We also have plural forms. But the verb eİmī is the word that means to be in English. And depending on whether it's first person, second person, third person, you're going to translate eİmī as I am. The second person singular form is a with a smooth, with a circumflex on top. That's you are. He, she, it is s, t, or tin. And I notice that I put this new in parentheses because sometimes you'll see the form as st and sometimes you'll see the form as s10. And it's simply a stylistic convention. It used to be that in the past, SD was used when the word following began with the consonant, and STIN was used when the word follow began with the vowel. But that was a part of classical Greek convention, and in Koine Greek, or the Greek of the New Testament, that convention has been dropped. And so it's really a matter of style, whether the author decides to use ST or S10. And that means he, she, it. So eİmī means I am, A means you are, SD or S10 means he, she, it. To say we are, it's smooth breathing mark here, esmen. To say you all are, that means in Greek you can actually distinguish between you singular and you plural. And if you know you're talking to a group, it's you all are, then you would say este. And lastly, to say they are, it's I, see, or sin. This also has a movable nu. Again, it's a matter of convention. So let's go ahead and say the whole paradigm of eİmī. So repeat after me. Eİmī, a, esten, esmen, este, asen. So I'm going to say it again. 1, 2, 3. Eİmī, a, esten, esmen, este, asen. And so that completes our paradigm.